Oh boy. So there's been some pretty crazy news within the past few days, and um, I thought I might as well cover it because it's fairly interesting, and it's probably one of the bigger stories of this new-ish year with the Linux kernel since the whole issue with the voluntarily induced malware drama about the kernel. Anyway, to kind of give you a synopsis, Nvidia has just released open source kernel modules, and this is not just kind of big, it is pretty huge. Now, I'm personally myself am not on Team Green. I have a good old RX 6700 XT because, I don't want to go through manual CBT. But so apparently, Nvidia has released a bunch of open source kernel modules for the Linux kernel. Now, apparently, it looks like from a lot of my reading that they're partnered with the kind of the big three companies of the Linux environment, if that makes sense, with Canonical, SUSE, and Red Hat. Now, it looks like these are still pretty early because if we take a look at the actual kernel modules, we only have about 5 commits, and well, if I nothing's really happening. And really, if we even take a look at maybe I don't know some diffs and stuff, most of it has just been spelling changes or capitalization grammar, and nothing really interesting has happened. But if we start peering through a bunch of stuff, it does look like we're actually getting some proper source code that would actually be of use in the kernel. Now, I am by no means smart enough to even begin to comprehend all of what goes on within kernel development, but this is a very, very interesting development because it just kind of popped out of the blue. It was something that wasn't super normal, and taking a look at the mailing list, and really I should probably refresh it as well, there's really not much talk about Nvidia really anywhere. I mean, you might get some stuff with certain virtualization things, but otherwise there's not much talk about Nvidia just yet on the kernel mailing list. So I have no idea how all of this is going to actually be sorted on the side of all of the kernel maintainers and modules like that, but it looks like Nvidia is just kind of pushing this out just for the meme, I guess. I don't know. Now, being that this is what, like 3 days old, I would not expect this to work at all well on any kind of system, probably even worse than noveau. Mainly because it's so early on and it hasn't even really been integrated into the actual kernel. So I would, even if you go, clone it, build it, and do all that stuff, I still would recommend against using this, mainly because it's only been in the public eye for about 3 days, and, well, all of the only recent changes are, well, spelling and grammar on some of the important README files and whatnot. So, anyway, now speculation for why this might have happened, because as you know, all of the memes going around in the Linux community of just Nvidia being an absolute pain when it comes to anything revolving getting your GPU working, getting those drivers actually loaded and working on your system. You all know the memes. They're everywhere, but universally, they all say Nvidia sucks and that you should absolutely leave them. So, I feel like my speculation for why Nvidia is actually doing this is because in the last, I would say, probably 5 years, Nvidia's kind of been swept under the rug. And not in the consumer space because, well, if you've seen any Linus Tech Tips videos, you know that all them gamer folk cream over whenever you talk about the latest Nvidia card, but rather in the enterprise realm. Now, the only other graphics competitor that Nvidia has is AMD, and I can tell you what, those AMD cards work amazing on Linux. And actually, in fact, if we take a look at the GitHub mirror here, there are a bunch of source files for the driver for AMD cards. There's a lot of development, and 6 years old from what I'm assuming, just quick 7 years, yeah. So it's been around for a long time, and it's been very developed compared to this kernel module, which is only 3 days old. So my speculation is that Nvidia's jumping on the meme of open sourcing all of their drivers and kernel modules to try to kind of get more money in their pockets and get more attention from enterprise data centers who need graphics processing. To my knowledge, from what I've done, it looks like it is CUDA compatible with Nvidia's CUDA technology, but I have no idea, and that's only really just a bit of surface level reading. But really, that's not even the most important part about this whole story. Rather, it has to be that the noveau devs are probably going bonkers right now because of these open kernel modules, because noveau, for the longest of time, has kind of been that one project that's been on life support ever since its inception. But all of the noveau devs already have all of the user land, user space stuff completely dealt with. The Mesa X got all of that already dealt with. It's just been, actually interacting with the GPU has been the primary issue that has been heavily limiting the noveau devs from actually doing anything really cool. So I think that's actually the biggest win from this whole crazy ordeal with Nvidia open sourcing their kernel modules. So I'm really excited to see what happens with noveau as time moves on. Now, I will say, kind of to bounce off my point earlier, I wouldn't recommend installing the kernel modules from Nvidia, mainly because they're underdeveloped. And what seems to be the case is if you have any GPU older than a 20 series GPU, like me, I have a 1060, GTX 1060 in my machine right here for VFIO pass-through. But if you're using anything older than a 20 series GPU, then tough luck for you, you're not getting support from this kernel module. So that's kind of the one major downside, and it's an MIT license. If we take a look here, yeah, there, MIT license. So it's some of oh no, this is just for linking to the kernel. But so all of this is under the MIT license, which is sadly a not copyleft license, but still GPL compatible. So I'm at least a bit happy about at least at most that. But anyway, this is definitely a very interesting development, and it's probably one of the biggest pieces of news to hit in, well, decades practically. This is probably one of the most biggest opportunities for a lot of users to actually start getting into the Linux environment and to actually be able to utilize their Nvidia GPUs to actually do some high quality computing, whether it's games, media, if you're even crazy enough to do that on Linux, or pretty much anything else, calculations, AI, machine learning, all those buzzwords. So I'll be keeping an eye on this. It's definitely going to be very interesting to see where this goes. But anyway, that's all for today's video. I will see you all in a later video.